Hey everyone.
Well, hey, I love that iris in you opened the video with. Makes it feel like a Looney Tunes episode. So now this video is called How Two Cavemen Can Make Atheists Deny Reality. It's an intriguing title, to say the least. But before we get into that, I just want to mention this guy was super cool. At some point I was doing my usual searching around YouTube looking for potential video response material, and I came across this video and I really liked it, and I decided, yeah, I'm gonna respond to that. So I put it in my list of things to respond to, and didn't download it, and then it got privated. And of course I was devastated. I spent 3 days crying in the corner, tearing up my clothes, tearing out clumps of my hair, covering myself in my own feces. Don't judge me for how I grieve. But anyway, then I decided, no! Lodge? There's no use crying about it, we gotta fix this. And so with the insights of a couple of people in my Discord, we managed to figure out at least what channel the video had come from, because I didn't remember. And from there, I managed to find a way to contact the guy, and I sent him a very polite email explaining what had happened and requesting the video, and he got back to me and was like, yeah man, absolutely, here you go. Which was surprising, and so considering that he was so polite and helpful about it, I wanted to make sure that he understood what he was getting into by sending me that video. And so I responded to him and said, hey listen, do you know what my channel is? Maybe just have a look at it, and if you decide you don't want that kind of engagement, I just won't bother. And he came back and was basically like, yeah, if you want to do some video commentary and stuff, just go for it. Okay. So thank you to Zachary for resurrecting this response from the dead. I like you. You're good people. I'm still going to make fun of your video though, but I'm pretty sure you don't have a problem with that.
Welcome back to the Spiritual Research Center here in Hamilton, Ontario.
Oh, Ontario? My condolences, man. Very abrupt transition to the intro, which is the Windows XP startup sound. Or actually, not even the Windows XP startup sound, but a digital piano tutorial rendition of it. With clips cut together using Clidio.com, which sounds like an adult website, but actually is a website with video editing tools, which only appears to have been used for this intro and not for the main video. Don't you just love mysteries that can never be explained? Well, okay, I have contact with the guy. I probably could ask him to explain it, but meh. Maybe I'll just ask him to satisfy my own curiosity, but then not tell the rest of you. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, I did it, and he gave me the answers, and you can't have them. Ha 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 ha.
I'm your friendly spiritual researcher, Zachary Strong, and today we are going to be talking about how a thought experiment with two cavemen is causing atheists that I talk to completely lose their minds to the point of outright denying reality or saying it's irrelevant.
I've never known the mere thought of a caveman to drive a man to madness, but who knows, maybe Lovecraft was on something approaching the right track.
And you might be wondering, how is this possible? Atheists are so logical. Atheists are science-driven.
No. I'm just wondering what kind of a thought about cavemen you could bring up that would make people consistently want to deny reality.
Thought like blah, 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 right?
Blah, blah, blah. Right.
And so, this is how.
Okay, I'm ready.
Basically, if you have a properly ordered mind, first you concern yourself with epistemology, which is how do I know things are true? And then you concern yourself with metaphysics, which is okay, now what is true? And then you concern yourself with aesthetics, which is what is important. And then once you know what's important, then you can decide on ethics, right?
Why would that be right? You kind of just took 4 branches of philosophy and arbitrarily arranged them into a hierarchy, which isn't too bad with epistemology and metaphysics, but then the way you put aesthetics as the next layer, the philosophy of beauty and art, is so random, and then you put ethics as the next layer on top of that, which has nothing to do with it. I guess with your definition of aesthetics, it sort of makes sense. You said aesthetics is what is important, and for you to have some kind of an ethical system, you need some sort of a basis that you consider to be important, but that's not what aesthetics is, so that's kind of a moot point. And in either case, with your definition or a proper definition, putting aesthetics as the next step in thinking up from metaphysics is bizarre. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. But setting all of that aside, what does this have to do with your caveman thought experiment?
However, atheists have this completely messed up. They do not have epistemology at the top.
At the bottom, you mean. The foundation goes at the bottom.
Okay, and so what this means is that atheists have very strictly defined epistemological rules. So they have very strict rules about how they want to use their own mind. They have very strict rules about what constitutes knowledge. They have very strict rules about a whole bunch of things.
Okay, so it sounds like they're taking the foundation of all thinking very seriously. It sounds like they're very much putting it at the top, or the bottom, or whatever you think the most important spot is. Isn't that what you were saying we should be doing? Settling epistemology and only then moving on to things like metaphysics, aesthetics, ethics. Only once we have a firmly established epistemology and not before. That was what it sounded like.
And they absolutely lose it when you present them with a simple thought experiment that challenges those unquestioned assumptions.
Wait, who says they're unquestioned? You're saying that these epistemological positions are firmly held. That doesn't mean they're unquestioned. That's a very different thing. But we haven't even got to what the thought experiment is yet that challenges this. So maybe it's best that we get a little bit into that to get some context for what we're really talking about here, before I go off on something that might not be really applicable.
Okay, so here's the thought experiment.
Oh, good timing.
All right, so we have 2 cavemen.
1, 2. Okay, got it.
They're completely illiterate. They're not that, cognitively development, whatever.
Not cognitively development.
Og and Bog, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Ugg and Grug. I'm stereotyping. My bad.
So Og and Bog.
Which one's Og and which one's Bog? Can you label them? The story's gonna get real confusing if you don't label them.
Are walking along, and then...
And then?
And then they see an angel, okay?
Oh, okay. And the angel looks like that? All cleaned up and modern, dressed up like a Renaissance lady. She doesn't look like a caveman or nothing. She doesn't seem to be doing a great job targeting her audience.
And the thing is, this is like a legit angel, okay? The angel is actually there. The photons of light are bouncing off the angel and entering Og and Bog's eyes.
Wait, photons bounce off angels? I thought angels would, emit their own photons or something. I thought regular photons would go through them or something. Like ghosts.
Okay, so they have, an angel experience, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And then the angel goes away, okay? And then it's just Og and Bog again.
Why are Og and Bog so filthy? What have they been doing? Frankly, they look like they've been up to no good. Og or Bog or whichever the front one is walking around with, blood lipstick. They both look like some kind of Mad Max villains.
Okay, so the thought experiment is basically, did Og and Bog see what they saw?
Yeah? You just said they did.
Regardless of however that gets garbled into folklore, however that gets transmitted or not transmitted, or whatever, did Og and Bog see what they saw?
Yeah, that's what the story is. Og and Bog actually see the thing. So yes, in the story, Og and Bog see the thing. I'm really confused what the problem's supposed to be here.
And this caused atheists to straight up deny their senses.
What does this have to do with my senses? My senses aren't part of the story. The only way my senses are relevant here is whether I heard your story accurately. But I'm pretty sure my senses worked well enough for me to hear the story. I don't think I'm that deaf yet. I'm working on it.
Because they know, the ones that I've talked to anyway, know that I'm operating from... a Jewish standpoint, which is 3 million people stood at the foot of a mountain and saw the same thing.
Oh, it's a Sinai thing. Okay, yeah. In the Sinai story, according to the way you guys tell it, 3 million people saw the thing. Yes, that's the story, yes. In the story, they actually saw the thing.
And I think implicitly the atheists that I've talked to realize that they absolutely cannot concede that Og and Bog actually saw something.
What are you talking about? What idiot are you talking to who's denying that in the story, Og and Bog saw an angel? The story was, Og and Bog see an angel, and it's not anything else. There's no other explanation. It's actually an angel, and that's the story. So yeah, Og and Bog saw the angel in the story, and yet Og and Bog don't exist. You made them up. So in real life, Og and Bog did not see the angel because there is no Og and Bog. It's fiction. They're made up people. You can make them do whatever you want.
And so they start invoking a whole bunch of other things to defend their epistemological presets, right?
Like what? That some guy on YouTube coming up with a fictional thought experiment about 2 fictional cavemen isn't grounds for knowledge that the fictional cavemen in fact exist and actually saw an angel in real life? Or what? What precept are you talking about?
And so they'll say things like, well, angels aren't real. And it's like, dude, this is just a thought experiment.
Okay, forget whether angels are real or any of that. What is your thought experiment supposed to establish? I don't want to be too unfair and assume that you're saying something incredibly dumb, like, if 2 cavemen see an angel in a story, that means those cavemen actually existed in real life and actually saw an angel in real life. I mean, that's so stupid that to assume that that's what you're trying to drive at would seem really, really, I don't know, low class on my part. But I sincerely don't understand what else you're driving at. You're pairing this up as if it's comparable to Sinai, as if admitting that Og and Bog saw the angel in the story amounts to admitting that the story of Sinai is 100% true and those people actually saw God. Where is that link coming from unless that's what you mean? Do you see why I'm having trouble here?
Let's just assume that an angel appeared, and then they'll say, well, angels aren't real, and they can't move from that axiom, right? They're stuck.
Okay, yeah, there are stupid people. I get it. Every side of every issue has stupid people. Can we go back to the Sinai thing?
Or they'll say, well, if I see something supernatural, I automatically have to deny my own senses or assume I'm crazy, right?
I don't believe anyone's ever said that to you in those terms. No, I don't believe it. I'm sure somebody said to you that that should be considered as a possibility, because it is. It's not just a possibility, it's something that happens incredibly regularly, far more regularly than anyone wants to really face. And I don't just mean in relation to supernatural phenomena, far from it. But I don't think anyone said to you, that's what I have to do, that's my only option. No, bullshit.
And it's like, well, assume that Og and Bog aren't, schizophrenic. Og and Bog are just, chilling, and they're regular in their own minds, and they see what they saw, right? And it's like, no, they must be crazy, blah, blah, blah.
No, it's your story. It can be whatever you want. But in real life, you would consider that possibility. You would consider other possibilities as well. And then if you actually had access to these individuals, you would do something. Depending on the situation, that something might vary, but you would do something to try to get the truest possible answer to this question of what actually happened. Unless you're just a biased idiot who's desperate for anything to validate your pet thing.
Or atheists will say, well, I'm a phenomenologist. The only thing that I believe to be true is in my own mind. Therefore, this whole thing is irrelevant.
I don't know anything about phenomenology. I don't know if that's a fair characterization of it. But yeah, if somebody says that to you, I'm on your side.
And it's like, so you believe physical reality is irrelevant?
I believe this entire part of the video is irrelevant, at least to me.
Or whatever. And they're like, yeah. And it's like, okay, so why do you eat? Why are you here? Right? Blah, right?
I don't know, man. How am I supposed to know if that's right? I don't know what some person with that opinion in that situation would say. If they would go, rah! I don't know. Maybe that's a thing phenomenologists do a lot. I don't know.
Or if people say, well, I can't trust my senses if I see something supernatural.
I've had lots of situations where I saw something natural, and it turned out I was wrong. Let's not go down the road of pretending our senses are infallible here.
And I say something like, so you're telling me that if you're driving down the highway and an angel appears in front of you 200 feet, you're not going to slam on the brakes?
Yeah, that would be the immediate impulse, yes. Kind of like how if you're driving down the highway and you see a stick at the side of the road that you think is a deer, you'll also slam on the brakes. Not because you have some infallible sensory knowledge that you are about to hit an angel or a deer, but because your senses are giving you enough of a warning for you to go, oh shit, I think I might be about to hit an angel or a deer. There's something in front of my car and I'm going really fast. I'd better stop. Are you telling me you've never had that situation where you're driving down the highway at night and you hit the brakes because you think there's something there and it turns out it was nothing important? Get out more. Nobody in that situation is taking the time to do some full in-depth study on what the thing is to decide if they want to hit the brakes. That is not how this works. But maybe afterwards you will, and maybe you'll find out that what you thought was an angel or what you thought was a deer was something else. Maybe. Are you denying that this is a possibility? I'm not denying that the deer is a possibility, or that the angel is. I'm just saying that in most circumstances in life, there's more than one possibility. I hope you can see that.
Right? Bah!
Okay, I don't know much about phenomenology, but I do know a lot about atheism. And I don't think bah is a thing that atheists say too often.
They don't like that because they know intuitively that if you see something appear, you're going to slam on the brakes.
Yeah, if I see something appear. Christ, I've hit the brakes over those fucking heat mirages on the road. That's nothing dangerous, it's just air. But if I don't know that, yeah, I'm gonna hit the brakes first and ask questions later. That's not some sort of declaration that I'll never ask the questions, or that doing so is invalid. This is so stupid.
And therefore, implicitly, they have to admit that they trust their senses well enough to have these reactions, right?
Yeah, it's driving a car. I trust my senses in the context of trying not to hit stuff. That's why I don't want to drive blindfolded. I trust my hands and feet to turn the wheel and hit the pedals the right way. I trust the brakes to work. I trust my brain to function long enough to get me safely where I'm going and not have a stroke and run me off the road. I trust all kinds of imperfect, fallible systems. That is in no way a declaration that I believe them to be infallible. Has anyone noticed just how far we're getting off track from the caveman story at this point? The caveman story made this all very simple. There were two cognitively underdeveloped cavemen, and they saw an angel. And also, it actually was a real actual angel. The end. And yeah, these things are really simple in a made-up story where you can just narrate away every other possibility. But I'm afraid real life doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter how many times you say, if you stop for something that seems to you like an angel, that means you're admitting now and for all time that it actually is one and can be nothing else. This dismissal of all other possibilities doesn't work outside of fiction. That's why you had to use your fictional example to accomplish it. But now you're trying to take this into the realm of reality, and it's so strange. I don't understand what you think you're doing.
So it's like, they don't like that territory at all.
The territory is perfectly fine. Yes, I trust my senses enough to stop if I think I see something ahead of the car. No, that doesn't mean I believe that something is an angel. Or even if I do, in the moment or permanently, that doesn't mean I'm going to discount every other possibility as a possibility, because that's foolishness. Now, if you want to say, no, in this story about you slamming on the brakes, it really is an angel, then fine. In your fictional story about me slamming on the brakes, it really is an angel. But then again, we're retreating from reality into fiction, in which case it means nothing, other than maybe that you find it easier to equate Sinai with fiction than with reality, which is very understandable.
Og and Bog really seem to frustrate atheists.
Oh, we're back at them now, huh? I thought we were talking about the territory of stopping for an angel on the road.
They don't want to acknowledge that your senses are valid.
No, I think your senses are quite valid most of the time. They seem to be doing a perfectly fine job getting you through life without dying. But saying that something works pretty well most of the time, at least well enough to keep you from dying for a while, is not the same as saying it's infallible. I'm not going to pretend that I'm incapable of mistaking something for something else, because that's happened to me many times. As I'm sure it's happened to you many times if you've paid any attention whatsoever, which you appear not to have. Now, of course, this conversation is centering a lot around the validity of the senses, but having your senses fooled is not the only way in which you can be wrong about something like this. Your senses can operate perfectly. You can perceive an object exactly correctly and think it's an angel for some reason, and yet it still might not be an angel. You think the cognitively lacking Og and Bog have the cognitive capacity to really make this determination? Even if they actually saw an angel, do you think they would be able to reason well enough to accurately narrow the field of possibilities down to that? Hell, even if they were as cognitively advanced as us, do you think that idea would even occur to them without the cultural input? If they had the cultural input, do you think that might make them read some of the cultural assumptions into that sensory input, even if it's not warranted? Jesus on a slice of toast? I could go on, but I won't. All I'm saying is, yes, in your story, because you defined it that way, Og and Bog saw a real angel. But real life is not nearly so clear-cut. That's why we have things like epistemology, which you were complaining about earlier. And if you just toss that all out and pretend that whenever anybody thinks they saw an angel, they actually definitely did, you're going to get fooled. A lot. Because you interpret the world like a fool.
They don't want to acknowledge that, 3 million people witnessing something extraordinary, right, might count for something.
Oh, it counts for a lot in the story that says that this happened. So?
Right. They have all these epistemological presets, right, which are usually things that they like and that make them feel smart.
No, it's things that I think help to actually reach the truth and avoid falsehood. That's why I have them. That's also why I like them, because I care what's true, and a story said it isn't good enough. Sorry. Until further evidence is presented, Og and Bog are bullshit, and so is Sinai. Within the context of the story, they can see whatever they want. I don't make determinations about what's true about real life based on what people say in stories. That's not good enough. If your story was Og and Bog the cavemen were walking along and banged 2 rocks together, and I know this about real life, I would say, what are you talking about? What is your evidence for this? Are you just making up a story about cavemen and then pretending it's real? Or is this based on some kind of archaeological find? Like, where is this coming from? Oh, are you denying that that's what happens in my story? No. I'm denying that you have this information about actual real life. Show me I'm wrong. Make me eat my words.
So I've talked to a lot of atheists, been on a lot of different chat servers over the last 6 months or so, and typically I find people who are working on theories of everything, people who are, working on new theories and all this stuff on the internet talking about it. It's stuff that they like aesthetically. And then they spend their whole lives, it seems, trying to justify it.
Oh, that's definitely a thing, yeah, with like scientific ideas for sure. People get committed to something because they like it, because they think it's beautiful, and they just go down that rabbit trail. Maybe eventually, if it keeps going on and there's still nothing down there, eventually they might get dragged back, or they might not. Yeah, that happens. And hey, if you want to accuse me of finding it aesthetically pleasing that events have possible alternative explanations and my senses are not infallible, fine, say whatever you want, I don't care. That doesn't make me wrong, and it doesn't make you right, so it's irrelevant. So make another argument that isn't just openly fictional storytelling.
You know, whereas me, for example, I've written like a Theory of Everything book, link in description, ticket to heaven. But it wasn't about what I liked, it was about what I found to be true and not true.
Oh, I see. You're the one who's immune. I get you. Look, I don't care, alright? I'm sure you think your thing is true. Wonderful, I'm happy for you. Maybe everyone else on your weird forum is a delusional moron. That still doesn't make you right. Oh, you might be right, but if so, that's not why you're right. So why the fuck are we talking about it?
And so my life, personally, has been very inconvenient because now the only people I agree with, pretty much, are the Orthodox Jews. And everyone else hates me for it, basically.
And that's the end of the video. It just ends on a seemingly totally irrelevant, unprompted note of woe is me. I guess that was important to toss in at the end there for some reason. Well, but anyway, thank you, Zachary, for giving me your video with full knowledge that I was going to do this with it. Your ideas are weird, and I don't agree with basically anything you've said here, but you're cool. To everyone else, don't feel left out, you're cool too. Thank you for watching, and if you would, before you go, please do give the video a like and click subscribe if you haven't. And if you really like the channel, maybe consider supporting. Just a couple bucks per video or per month is enormously helpful, and huge thanks to all of my supporters who've already made that choice. Early access, email list, list.logicked.com, and I'll see you next time.